Well, friends, we just got a bit of a glimpse into how Special Counsel Jack Smith intends to prove the criminal charges against Donald Trump in his D.C. prosecution for trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. And all I'll say is, Donald, you may want to hold on tight. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, Special Counsel Jack Smith just shared a sort of a blueprint of how he intends to prosecute Donald Trump in the federal case in Washington, D.C., once that case is in trial. And I think maybe the best way to characterize Jack Smith's prosecutorial approach is no piece of incriminating evidence left behind. Let's start with the new reporting. This from Kyle Cheney of Politico. Headline, Echoes of January 6 Committee as Jack Smith foreshadows plan to tie Trump to Capitol riot. And that article begins, when Donald Trump faces a jury on charges stemming from his bid to subvert the 2020 election, he wants to prohibit federal prosecutors from even mentioning the chaos and violence unleashed by his supporters at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. But to Special Counsel Jack Smith, Trump's role in the riot is the heart of the case. A new court filing from Smith's team this week reveals that the mob that stormed Congress in Trump's name will be the centerpiece of his trial, scheduled to begin on March 4. It wasn't just an unfortunate reaction to Trump's incendiary remarks that day, prosecutors contend. It was a tool that Trump used to launch one last desperate bid to cling to power. Trump's criminal conspiracies culminated and converged on January 6th when he attempted to prevent Congress from finalizing Joe Biden's victory, argued Senior Assistant Special Counsel Molly Gaston. Quote, one of the ways that the defendant, Donald Trump, did so was to direct an angry crowd of his supporters to the Capitol and to continue to stoke their anger while they were rioting, Gaston wrote in the filing. In a way, Smith is now casting Trump's trial as a long-awaited collision between two distinct narratives. Trump's month-long campaign to use lies about election fraud to pressure state and federal election officials to keep him in power, and the rioters who embraced Trump's false claims and took violent action on his behalf on January 6. Those investigations have largely moved along separate tracks in the Washington courts, where a revolving door of January 6 riot defendants have faced punishment, while Smith's grand jury, just a few paces down the hall, worked secretly on the Trump probe. Smith introduced the indictment to America on August 1st with a reference to the riot, calling it an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy that was fueled by lies. But until this week, it remained unclear whether the harrowing attack would merely be mood music for a trial focused on Trump and his rarefied inner circle, or whether the riot would be inextricably linked to the case. In fact, in Trump's bid to strike the riot references from his indictment, as well as in a bid to shelve a gag order, he cited Smith's comments as an irrelevant offshoot from the case against him. By combining the Trump allegations with the riot, Smith is unlocking a mountain of case law developed in those January 6 riot cases to tie Trump more clearly to the violence than he has been to date. In short, he's casting Trump as one of the 1,200 plus riot defendants who have already been charged. The defendant here is charged with 4 related criminal counts, including conspiring to obstruct and obstructing the official certification proceeding on January 6th, prosecutor Gaston wrote. Essential to those charges are factual allegations and evidence that the proceeding was, in fact, impeded, namely, by a large crowd, including individuals whom the defendant had directed at the Capitol that violently advanced on the Capitol building to create a catastrophic security risk. And friends, that just begins to scratch the surface of Kyle Cheney's deep dive piece in Politico. In the event you want to read it for yourselves, I will put a link to the article in the description for this video. But I have a couple of observations after reading the article and reading the new court filings by Jack Smith. First of all, Donald Trump and his lawyers' attempt to convince Judge Chutkan that she should prohibit all evidence of the Capitol attack on January 6th at Donald Trump's criminal trial for attempting to overturn the results of the presidential election on and around January 6th, that motion will be denied quickly, summarily, definitively, in my opinion. But as I was reading through Jack Smith's most recent court filings, it becomes crystal clear what he is doing. He is taking all of the threads of Donald Trump's corrupt conduct, his criminal conduct, and he's weaving them all together into one treasonous tapestry. What are those threads? Well, one involves Donald Trump's corrupt pressure campaign on state legislators, maybe best exemplified by Trump's attorney or attorneys, Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis, going to the Georgia state legislator and lying about non-existent election fraud. Some of those lies included Rudy Giuliani lying about Shea Moss and Ruby Freeman, saying, they looked like drug dealers, they were stuffing ballot boxes. Friends, those are lies that Rudy Giuliani already admitted. He already admitted he defamed those Georgia state election workers. And Jenna Ellis, of course, has pleaded guilty in the RICO case in Georgia and is prepared to testify against Donald Trump and others. So one thread of Donald Trump's conduct involves corruptly pressuring state legislators. Another thread of Donald Trump's corrupt conduct involves Donald Trump's own attempt to pressure state election officials. Brad Raffensperger, for example. You remember the call. Just find me 11,780 votes and corruptly declare me the winner. And Trump offered all kinds of fraudulent claims of, people who were dead voting, people who were underage voting, stuffing of ballot boxes, all false. So another thread was Donald Trump's corrupt pressure that he applied to state election officials. Another thread, Donald Trump's corrupt pressure on his own Vice President Mike Pence, urging Mike Pence over and over again to violate the law, the Electoral Count Act, and just corruptly declare him, Trump, the winner. And when Mike Pence resisted, and he said, I will not do what you're asking, Mr. President. He might not have been so bold and direct, but that's what he communicated to Donald Trump. What did Donald Trump say to his own vice president? You know what your problem is, Mike? You're too honest. Bingo. Corrupt intent proved. Donald Trump articulated that he knew that what he was calling Mike Pence to do required dishonesty. That is another corrupt thread of Donald Trump's conduct. How about Donald Trump ginning up that angry mob on the morning of January 6th, inspiring them, inciting them to go to the Capitol, fight like hell or they won't have a country anymore. Now go down there and stop the certification, stop the steal. Yes, he launched the Capitol attack on January 6th. That's another corrupt thread. How about while the attack on the Capitol raged on, Donald Trump poured gasoline on that fire, saying Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what he should have done. In other words, corruptly keep me in office. You don't have to read between the lines to see what message Donald Trump was sending to the rioters while the attack was in progress. Get him. And try to get him, they did. Right? You remember the crowd erupting in chants of hang Mike Pence. Not only that, but Donald Trump corruptly pledged his love and promised pardons to the insurrectionists. And another corrupt thread is giving aid and comfort to the insurrection and the insurrectionists, and yes, promising and pledging your love and pardons to the people who attacked the Capitol that day. That's another corrupt thread. That's providing aid and comfort. All of those corrupt threads will be woven by Jack Smith and his team of prosecutors into one treasonous tapestry, all of which will be presented to that jury sitting in that wooden box in federal district court in Washington, D.C., sitting as a jury of his peers, sitting as the conscience of the community. And when Jack Smith presents all this evidence, friends, Donald Trump will be held accountable. Donald Trump will be convicted. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.